Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. So I actually reverted in January 2022, which is 3 years ago as of now, alhamdulillah. I've thought a lot about whether I actually want to talk about how I reverted, because I think the simplest way that I put it is no one goes from being away from God and then comes to God because their life is so amazing and happy. I mean, maybe they do, but I don't think that's usually the case. I'm so sweaty right now. I've turned off the air conditioning so that you guys can hear me, so yeah, it's very hot. Yeah, like I think for someone to turn to God when they weren't already established within a religion or spirituality, it's usually because they've gone through so much hardship, grief and struggle, pain and sadness, and anxiety and mental illness. I guess Allah shows you that this dunya just really isn't it. I'm not one of those reverts that came from a religious background. It's not like I was baptized and my parents were Christian but we just didn't practice. Like, we quite literally were atheists. As in, everyone in my family, like my bloodline that's alive today, they identify as like atheists, maybe agnostic at most. May Allah guide them. So my childhood and the way I was raised was completely and utterly atheist. God was not in the picture, full stop. And it wasn't like, yeah, we believed, or at least our parents believed some time ago in our generations, our ancestors believed, but we just don't really practice anymore. It's literally like, no, God doesn't exist. It's like, no, of course God doesn't exist. That's how I was raised. So for me to now come to Islam, yeah, it's a big difference. But I think you have to understand it takes a lot of breaking down the ego to get to a point where you can finally accept Islam. So I would say my journey didn't start when I became a Muslim. It started in 2019 when I was 17 years old. And this is when I had the switch from atheist to spiritual. I just overall questioned life, not in a spiritual way, in a negative way. I just sometimes was really sick of being alive, but never at any point did I ever question God. I was pretty certain that God didn't exist. I didn't know, I never thought about life in this way. When I was 17 years old, I had this transformative experience, and it was an overnight experience. It was literally from 1 second to the next, my whole perspective on life completely changed. So at this point, after quite a few years of struggling and quite literally suffering with mental health problems, just sad. A lot of the time I was mostly just sad. I kind of hit a point where it was a breaking point. It just became too much. And I hit this point quite a few times in my life, but this one was different. I quite literally think I had a breakdown. I was just crying and crying. I was in my bedroom crying a lot. But for the first time in my life, I was like, there has to be a choice in this. I can't just keep being depressed for the rest of my life. Like, there must be a way that I must have a choice in this. I must be able to just decide to do something else, right? And I told myself, I'm gonna stay up this whole entire night until I figure it out. And I stared out the window for a long time. Now, I guess you would call this meditation or contemplation. But the thoughts that started to come into my head and the realizations I had when I opened up to the idea of, I guess, essentially free will, it blew my mind. I looked out into the stars, into the sky, and I thought, everything is made up of, like, carbon, right? Like, think about it, like, this pillow. And I grabbed whatever it was that was next to me. I was like, this is made out of, like, atoms and carbon and, like, material matter. Like, this is made up of something physical. It's matter. And then so is this. Like, this clothes is made out of matter. And then I looked at myself and I thought, I'm made out of matter. Like, I'm made of carbon. I mean, I don't know the science, but I'm made of stuff, like stuffy stuff, like whatever this is. Me and this pillow, we're related in some way or another. Now stick with me here, because this is obviously, it's a strange line of thinking. And I was looking out into the stars, and I thought, okay, well, the stars are made out of it too. So this thing I'm looking at that's like 1,000,000 miles away or whatever, it's the same as what's right here. But there's one difference that I can think of. The one difference between me and this pillow. This pillow doesn't have free will. I do. Look at me. I want to put this pillow over here, so I'm doing it. Using my brain, using quite literally my free will, my manpower, I can move this pillow around. And then it hit me. Do you know what this means? This means I actually have control over this universe. Okay, now bear with me, okay? It took me a couple years to become a Muslim. So Allah had to take me down a certain path for me to open my eyes to the idea of Allah. If Allah had like revealed himself to me then, I don't think I would have accepted it. It was too much of a jump. But Allah knew what he was doing. I didn't think that I was like the center of the universe. I just realized I had a say in the universe. I had control. If I want to throw this pillow across the room, I absolutely can. It means I have an impact on this world. I have an impact on this universe. It means I do have a choice. And I thought, so do I have to be depressed? Can I not just choose to not do that? I won't lie, it absolutely was like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours of me sat up having these thoughts and talking to myself. So it's not like I can get every single point across. But let's just be blunt here. The next day, my depression went. Like, wallahi, it just left. Something even more transformative happened after that, the same night. And I remember the night. It was the 12th of May, 2019, and the 13th of May, 2019. It was that night in between those 2 days. Because it changed my life. At this point, I was then tired. I was flicking through YouTube, and I came across this video. This video was Ask the Universe for a Sign. It was a TED Talk. This woman, she explained how she was going through a difficult time, and for the first time in her life, she turned to the universe and like basically didn't even ask. She demanded with certainty, you're going to give me a sign. Like you're going to, and she kept saying it until she believed it. And then instantly she got her sign. I was watching this like, there's no way this is true. There's no way. But she was explaining it. It was her story. She seemed to be telling the truth. It felt like what she was saying was a true experience. I don't think she was lying. And I thought, I mean, what's the harm in trying? I've just had this transformative experience. I feel elated. I've realized my free will. So why not exert my free will? So I did. I asked the universe for a sign. Now granted, at this point, I didn't realize it was Allah. I now know it was absolutely Allah. It wasn't the universe. But if I give myself the benefit of the doubt, I'll explain to you my thoughts on what I thought the universe was. You know how I explained there's matter? There's like matter in this universe. I'm matter, this is matter, the camera that I'm looking at is matter, the laptop, the phone, the device you're using is matter, you're matter, everything. But there's something underneath that. There's something that like holds the matter. It's like antimatter. I was trying to explain it with the limited knowledge I have, which was like tiny bits of physics. Like I didn't know much, I just knew concepts. And in my head I thought it was like antimatter, but I know it's not that either. It's like the thing that holds up the matter, the thing that supports it, the quiet undertone. Now if I was to explain it today, I would explain it as there's creation and there's creator. And I don't think there's any difference in my heart and my line of thinking with this concept and that. Like the universe and matter and the thing holding the matter, the thing that holds the universe, and then creation and creator. It's the same thing. I didn't know it then. I think my fitra came alive, and I think my heart was pure in understanding what I meant, just my labels were wrong. So I understood that there's something holding up this universe, supporting it almost, like a pair of hands, but like the darkness, just the opposite of matter, whatever that is. Well, matter is creation. What's the opposite of creation is creator. So, okay, I can ask the universe that. So when I thought universe, I didn't think like this part of the universe. By universe, I meant the thing holding up the universe, the creator. When I was asking this question to the universe, there was one thing in particular I wanted to know about. It's not relevant to the topic, because It was just something I was struggling with at the time that I don't specifically want to get into details about, but it was just one specific thing that I wanted to know a sign of whether I should continue doing this or whether I shouldn't. To me, it mattered. At that time, in that point, it mattered, but now it doesn't. When I was asking the universe for this sign, it took me like 10 minutes to ask the question, because I was saying out loud, like, you're gonna show me this. Because I had to convince myself. It wasn't easy to think this way for the first time in my life. I had to convince myself, you're gonna show me a sign. Should I do this thing? Blah, 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 blah. You're gonna show me, and I know you're gonna show me. I know you're gonna show me, and it's gonna be so quick, and I'm gonna know straight away that what I see is you showing me the sign. You're gonna answer my question, you're gonna show me the sign, and I'm gonna know that you're showing me the sign. I just kept doing that for like 10 minutes straight because it took me a while. Then afterwards, there was like a silence in the air. I'm just in my bedroom, like, where can I even see a sign? Like, okay, I did that. That was weird. I guess I should just continue with what I was doing. And so I go on my phone. There it is. There it is, instantly. Again, I'm not going to tell you specifically what it was because it's just personal, but it was instant. And I looked at my phone like, there's no way. And I doubted it at first. I was like, there's just no way. That's not what that is. That's just a coincidence. That has to be a coincidence. But you know what? I followed the sign. The sign very clearly said, don't do this thing. Stop this thing. And I did. And I stopped it. And that was it. It was finished. It wasn't a big, important thing, but it was finished. Something changed within me that night. And for the first time in my life, I knew I was no longer an atheist. I didn't know what I believed, but I knew there was something. And this changed everything. This was a whole new world. A whole new world. It was a whole new world, guys. It was absolutely just completely and utterly life-changing. My depression left. I had new things to focus on. This is when I found manifestation. Wallahi. I discovered the law of attraction, the secret, everything. And I tried it. And it worked. And I don't want to talk about this too much because, again, my beliefs on what I was actually doing has changed. Do I believe the law of attraction is okay? No. I think we have dua. Do I believe in manifestation? Yes. But it's Allah. It's not you. The problem is, with this new age spirituality, it is idolatry, in my opinion. It's shirk because you put yourself at the center of the universe. You think you're the creator. You think you create your reality. And you have a say, but you aren't the creator. You can make dua and you have free will to go and assert yourself amongst the world, but you don't absolutely have a say. Like, just because I'm thinking I'm going to get this parking spot, I can see myself driving into the parking spot, and you might get the parking spot but you might not get it tomorrow. Is that because you weren't on the right wavelength? You weren't in alignment with the parking spot? Come on guys, that's just silly. That's just silly. It means Allah doesn't want to give you that parking spot. Maybe someone needed it more than you. Allah knows. Manifestation can make you a bit selfish. This is the whole other topic, and you know what, maybe I should talk about it someday. But for me, it holds a space in my heart because it was part of my journey. Oh Lord, did I go into this. This became my new personality. Spirituality was me. It had me written all over it. It was like I discovered another part of myself. Yeah, I think I'm going to talk this more in another video because it is its own topic. And you're here to see how I reverted. Now, I couldn't have told you how I reverted unless I explained the story to you because it's so important. How can I say that I became a Muslim when I was an atheist if I don't explain that awkward tween stage, let's call it? But my heart was in the right place. Now, I was confused because there are conflicting messages and, yeah, let's just be honest, I didn't even look into religion. For me, it was still the fishbowl. You know, when they say like the ocean is spirituality and religion is just this fishbowl and it keeps you trapped and it's just dogma, it just wants to tell you what to do and it's not freeing at all, and I don't believe that anymore, of course. Religion was still compartmentalized into a little box. Don't know why people follow religion and they can just be spiritual and they can just manifest and be free and happy. but I wasn't really that free and I really wasn't that happy. A month or two after I became spiritual, yeah, oh yeah, life hit me in the face, as in big time, as in the biggest challenges I've ever faced in my entire life just kept coming, one after the other after the other. I mean, I couldn't get a break for like 3-4 years. It was crazy. Had to leave my mom's house, had to leave my dad's house, got kicked out, got me too much stuff. I developed Tourette's because of all the anxiety. COVID hit. It was just, there's so much more than that. It was a lot. Allah was testing me for sure. Allah saying, you think you've figured it out, you haven't fully figured it out. I need to break your ego down even more for you to open your heart and your mind to the idea of Allah, because back then I still wouldn't have accepted it. My ego was there. I had a spiritual ego now. Allah had to break that down for me to be open to the idea of Allah, and I'm so grateful that He did, alhamdulillah. Okay, so 3 years in the future. Yes, 3 years. 3 years of looking into all kinds of the woo-woo stuff that I will talk about at some other point. I just became stagnant again, and this was not the first time. It had been a few times that I wished to have this breakdowns, a breakthrough moment again like I had, but I just couldn't get there, and I was like, I'm missing something. I know there's something I even remember having a conversation in college, like, I know there's something more spiritual I'm supposed to be like catching on to, but what is it? I can't see it. Everything just looks empty now. Like, I feel like I've just figured everything out and I've lost the point and the reason and the purpose to life. I guess that's my fitrah. I guess that's Allah guiding me still. So finally, after 3 years, it got to the point where I was like, maybe I've got to that point in my spiritual journey where I should start researching the religions. Not because I wanted to convert, because I thought there's like millions, and actually there's billions of people on this planet that still decide to stick to religion. Like, why? I didn't know anything. As in, I knew nothing. And when I say I knew nothing, I mean I knew nothing about Islam whatsoever. I knew they believed on Allah. I knew you couldn't draw Allah's face, and I thought that was pretty cool, because how can you draw God? Like, that doesn't really make sense. I knew they prayed multiple times in the day. I also kind of had the bad beliefs that the media likes to put out, which is that it's like a misogynistic, and you see that there's like terrorist attacks. And I do remember one day thinking and joking with my friends, like, can you imagine like what it would be like if we die and the Muslims were right? And I laughed because I was like, oh, not gonna be good for me, is it? That ain't good news for me, is it? It's funny, it's almost like my fitrah knew, like, if you died, you find out the Muslims are right, you're going to be very sorry for yourself, aren't you? But I was interested for the first time in the concept of God. At this point, I thought I kind of knew what God was, but for some reason I still didn't quite believe. I still believed there was the universe and the thing that holds up the universe, and I used to just refer to the universe. I was that kind of person. And I still wasn't sure if I believed in God, because God is a real thing, it's a being, it's a conscious creator. Like, I had no idea about that realm of things. But I thought, hey, I've become stagnant. It's that point. They call themselves spiritual. It is spirituality. Let me look into it. So I remember buying a book to literally just study the world religions, the major world religions. I remember writing about the basics of Christianity, Sikhism, maybe a little bit of Judaism, a little bit of Islam. Now at this point I had a friend who was also on the same kind of spiritual wavelength as me, but they were a born Muslim, and they just said something to me that was very profound. They said, you know, of all these spiritual explorations I've done in my life, I have still never found anything as close to the truth as Islam. Now that really intrigued me, because I never knew anything about Islam. I always just thought it was kind of a bit of oppressive towards women, and so like, how could that ever be the truth? That just doesn't make any sense. Look at me now. Alhamdulillah. So I went and did my research. What is the basics of Islam? And so I wrote down in a book the 5 pillars of Islam. Now this person at the same time would kind of explain to me the basics and the number one most important thing, which is that we believe that God is just one God. It's just one. God is one. Now this person explained it to me in a way that I would understand it, because they used a concept which was already familiar to me, which is one consciousness. I believed that us as a species, as humans, as the universe, as matter, everything was connected in this one consciousness. I thought we were all one. There was like a non-duality kind of thing going on. So when I heard this concept of one consciousness, that God was also just one, this sparked something within me that made me think, what? Like, this is what your religion believes? That's interesting. Okay. Then they told me a little bit about the signs of Judgment Day. And I thought, wait, because in spirituality, woo-woo things, we believe in a similar thing. We don't call it Judgment Day necessarily. Depends on what you believe. I mean, it's a very big, broad spectrum of belief. But we believe in, you know, like ascension. There's going to be this ascension. Us as a whole humanity, we're all going to ascend to the next level of life. It's going to be different from this worldly place. We're going to ascend. We're going to be in a different level of consciousness, the 5D. It's fitra. I understand that it's innate human understanding to know that this is where we are headed. But sometimes we just get the wrong ideas and the wrong labels. It's misinformation. But at this point, I was so adamant I need to know the truth. I used to believe that all religions had a bit of the truth, but that no religion had the full truth. I used to think as humans we never were allowed to know what the full truth is. But I understood one thing, that there absolutely was a truth. I just didn't think I'd ever get access to it. The Akashic records and all of that, I thought maybe I can astral project and lucid dream my way into understanding this world a bit better, but that was not the right way about it. And thank God I didn't get into all of that stuff. It confused me because there had to be a truth. You know, is it the theory of evolution, a Big Bang theory? Like, that didn't make sense to me either. Like, how can something start from nothing? It just isn't adding up. But like, there has to be a truth. Like, that is undeniable. There is a truth, like one singular truth, and something somewhere knows what that truth is. So what? So I was researching the 5 pillars. I wrote it down. At this point, I'd already kind of sparked a bit of a love and an interest for Islam. It was pulling me in, I can't lie. It was pulling me in. I think my friend borrowed me a copy of the Quran, and my heart just skipped a beat, wallahi, just thinking about it. And I'm remembering like my thought process, how it was. So I read the first surah of the Quran, Surah Fatiha, which is essentially the dua to Allah saying, guide us. And subhanAllah, Allah's wisdom is, because if anyone ever decides to read the Quran for the first time, much like I did, like you're literally saying out loud, whether you realize it or not, like, guide me to the straight path, guide me to the truth. And then on the next page, that's exactly what he did. Wallahi, it's like, and I never say that word, wallah, I don't say that word, but this is exactly where it's important, because I mean it. Yeah, I was reading it and this feeling came into my chest, like into my heart space, and it was a feeling of warmth. I felt this like fire radiating from my heart, and it was a physical feeling. I mean, it was physical. I could feel like heat burning in my chest, but it wasn't a negative, it was a warmth. I was like, what is this that I'm reading? Like, what is this? Like, it's the word of God. It's literally. But it wasn't Surah Fatiha that did it for me. It was the start of Surah Baqarah. And it was, this is the book of which there is no doubt for those who believe in the unseen. And to me, that just blew my mind. After all these years of diving into spirituality, I knew there was spirits. I knew there was things I couldn't see. I knew there was the unseen. There was like matter, and then there's the thing holding up the matter, but you can't see that thing. I knew it. I knew this existed. I didn't have a way to explain it. So when Allah said to me, this is the book of which there is no doubt. Don't doubt. This is the truth. This is the truth that you've been looking for. For those who believe in the unseen, that's me. I cried. From that moment, I knew I was a Muslim. I don't know if at that point exactly is when I agreed that I knew I was a Muslim, but I was like, I think I literally said, must have said out loud or something like, whoa, I think I'm a Muslim. I didn't know religion was like this, wallahi, I didn't know. I thought religion was just that box, and it's like so the opposite. SubhanAllah. I need to build the Quran because I don't remember exactly what it is that comes after that. This is the scripture in which there is no doubt, containing guidance for those who are mindful of God, who believe in the unseen. It says it right there. It's there to guide you, for those who are aware, for those who believe in the unseen, who know that there's spirituality in this life, who know there's a meaning, that there's a truth, that there's something. This is what you're looking for. And I was just thinking, like, you finally gave it to me, like, this is ugly crying now. You actually gave it to me, like there is a truth, and like this universe thing, God, like this, whatever it is that's aware of me, is finally giving it to me. And I'm not going to pretend that life just became suddenly easy as soon as I reverted. It didn't. Again, it had its own challenges, things I couldn't even imagine. But I wouldn't change it for the world, subhanAllah. Like, and I'm just so grateful that 3 years later, I'm still here. That's how I knew I was a Muslim. But there's more to the story, I suppose, because at this point I still hadn't taken my shahada. Like, I was too scared to admit that I could be a Muslim. But I thought, whoa, like, I think I'm a Muslim. Like, still, like, there's still the fear. Like, I don't want to cover my hair. I don't want to give up this and that. I don't want to live all that strict stuff that everyone always talks about. But yeah, so I continued my research. I was writing about the 5 pillars, and I got to, I think it was the first pillar, and it was the shahada. It was, I'm just writing it down, okay, I'm just studying it, right? So I remember writing down the shahada is what you say to become a Muslim, and I wrote it down because why not? Like, I'm studying, and it was La ilaha illallah, and I thought, I'm not going to say this out loud, because I know if I say this out loud then I'm a Muslim, and I'm not ready to be a Muslim yet. So I went about my life for a couple of days. By the way, this little part that I'm talking about takes place over a week or 2. From me picking up the Quran to saying my shahada, it was about a week or 2. I went about my life. Woke up, went to sleep, woke up, went to sleep, woke up, thought, what if I have a car crash? No, but like, for real, like, what if someone just runs into me one day and I die and I didn't actually say the shahada and I didn't make myself a Muslim? I became scared. This fear